guys, it's D and welcome back to my channel. Before we begin, I just want to say thank you to all of my subscribers, all of my viewers, for the likes and the comments. Really appreciate it. I'm recording this at like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's really hot, but the sun's gone down, but I'm just like, I needed a moment to just take in everything that I saw, everything that I watched. We're going to talk about the House of the Dragon trailer because it was amazing. And on my first initial watch, when I watched it, I was like, oh my god, this is fantastic. And then I watched it 35 more times. Don't judge me. And I realized there was a lot that I missed. And I was like, okay, we've got to go through this bit by bit and talk about it. I did not realize, here's the thing. I know how the story ends. I know how the story plays out. I've read the books. And I didn't realize that a lot of people haven't read the books or haven't read the book that it's based on. It's a multi-book series, but there's only one so far, just dealing with the Dance of the Dragons. And I didn't realize, because I watched a lot of reaction videos and a lot of people that I follow on YouTube, because you gotta support, YouTube content creators, because we're all working hard to get content out for people to watch. So I interact with other YouTubers, they interact with me. It's a great back and forth dynamic going on, which is really great. I didn't realize that a lot of people didn't read the book that it's based on, so they don't know the story before going into the show. And the show is literally starting in a month. And a lot of people, I didn't realize, a lot of people are excited to get back to Westeros. I'm excited to get back to Westeros. The dragons are amazing. The music is amazing. The visuals are amazing. The actors are amazing. There's two actors that I know right off the top of my head that I've seen in other shows. The guy who plays Otto Hightower, I know him from the Spider-Man franchise, Marvel. He played the Lizard Doctor in The Amazing Spider-Man. And then the other guy I know, Matt Smith. I know him from watching The Crown. A lot of other people know him from watching Doctor Who. I never really got into Doctor Who, but based on the acting that I've seen him do, I may look that up and go and watch him there, because a lot of people know him from there. I know him from watching The Crown on Netflix because I'm obsessed with the monarchy slightly. So yes, a lot of people are excited to get back into Westeros and see King's Landing. What I find interesting about this story that's completely different from Game of Thrones is the fact that Game of Thrones, you had the Freys, the Bolton, the Lannisters, the Baratheons, the Starks, the Mormonts, and you had Dany and Viserys Targaryen, the Tyrells, the Martells, and even though it was based in Westeros and the books have so many more people, they trimmed it down a lot, but it was outside of the it was the Seven Kingdoms. Whereas this story is focused on basically two locations: Dragonstone, before Stannis Baratheon got it, and King's Landing, before the Baratheons took over. The Lannisters and Baratheons took over. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone. I don't want to be like, oh, this is who dies here. And everyone's gonna, in the words of Michael Scott, we're ready to get our hearts broken again. That's from The Office. Um, because a lot of stuff goes down. And I remember watching Game of Thrones, and the people were losing it when certain things happened and certain people died. This is on a grander scale because, in my opinion, you're focused more on certain characters. With Game of Thrones, you were in the North, and you were in the South, and you were in the Reach, and you were in the Riverlands, and you were in King's Landing, and you were in the Westerlands. Where here you're focused on 2 locations, maybe 3. Um, but I didn't realize, because I watched it. A few of the reactions that I watched with this the subtitles on, and it was like some of the names I was like, because everyone kind of sounds the same, or you can kind of pick out who's saying who depending on the scene. And there was one particular scene that I thought it was Corlys Velaryon or Daemon Targaryen talking or Otto Hightower talking, because it was those people interacting in the scene. However, the person who was talking, and they do this thing where even though the person's talking, they're not talking about that specific scene. So the person who was talking, who was Laenor Velaryon, I was like, oh, I wonder who he's talking to. Because he could be talking to his mother. He could be, who's Rhaenys Targaryen, the queen who never was. He could be talking to his father, who was Corlys Velaryon. He could be talking to his wife, who is Rhaenyra Targaryen. He could be talking to his uncle. He could be talking to anyone. So you don't really know who he's talking to, and it doesn't, sometimes the scenes don't match up with what's going on. One of the very opening scenes, which is the Viserys is talking, he talks about the Iron Throne, and you see him put his hand on the throne. When I watched it the first time, I didn't notice. There's a, like, when you look at his hand, and I'm going to put the link in the description below to the trailer again. There's a certain thing that I didn't notice the first time watching it. There's something about his hand, and if you blink, you'll miss it. And then I was like, oh, okay. So that's something I didn't notice. That happens with the nerf for like 10 seconds. And then you see a dragon flying over King's Landing, which is reminiscent of the vision that Bran had that happened in season 8 of Game of Thrones. What I didn't see the first time watching, that I saw after 35 times watching, is in the background. If you look at the top of the screen, you see the dragon pit before it's destroyed, and it looks fantastic. I was like, wow, that looks great. Another scene that I didn't notice, you see some of Viserys and Alysanne's children. And you see them as children, and then you see them as adults. And I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that this season. But this season's going to be 10 episodes, so I'm just like, okay, that could be something that they dive into. It could, like, end with, seeing her children. Then there's a scene, I believe it's on Dragonstone, and it's at night, and it's one of Alysanne's children looking up at a dragon. And then they pan to the dragon, but you only see the foot. And the foot is huge. And I was just like, okay, size comparison with these dragons. If you remember Game of Thrones and with Dany's dragons, they were big. However, when compared to what these dragons will look like, there's a scene with Daemon and his dragon, and then there's a scene with dragons flying over King's Landing. when you compare, because in theory, if we're going by, you know, season one, season two, season three, season four being every, 6 months to a year, from the time Danny hatches her dragons to the end of the story, I want to say theoretically is 6 to 7 years. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong or if my math is wrong. Um, because it's 8 seasons shot over 10 years. But then, like, when you watch season six, the end of season six, the beginning of season seven, there's a scene. I'm not gonna say what it is because I don't know who's watched it versus who hasn't. There's a scene where a certain character is like, "Oh, it's been a fortnight since this," and so it's like, okay, season six, and season seven, there's a 2 week gap. So I don't want to say each season's a year because in theory it's not. So I want to say if it's 8 seasons, it's taking place over maybe 6 years. So in theory, at the end of season eight, Danny's dragons would be 6 or 7. Because she, or maybe a little bit older because they haven't. There was a time where she wasn't flying them. She wasn't flying them until later seasons of Game of Thrones. Again, I don't want to give anything away because I don't know who has watched it, who hasn't watched it. And it's been done for a few years, but at the same time, I just want to be respectful of the people who haven't gotten there yet. Um, so these dragons look amazing and huge, and there is a scene at the very that same dragon scene that takes place that I believe is on Dragonstone. Um, you see that dragon again. And the dragon, I think it is, and I was talking to a lot of other YouTube content creators about this in their comments. I think that it's Vhagar. And Vhagar is one of the 3 OG dragons from Aegon the Conqueror's conquest. Because Balerion dies at the beginning of this story. And Vhagar's the only one left from the OG 3. So I think that that big dragon, which his foot looks like the size of, I don't even know. There's nothing I can think of that can compare to what the size of his foot would look like. It's probably like maybe 12, 15 feet long. The foot looks huge. The foot looks huge. And I'm just like, okay, so Dany's dragons they're big, because I remember when she started flying them, the directors were saying how big, comparing them to how big they would be to something in our modern era. And I used to work at the airport, so I was around a lot of planes, and so they were like, okay, well, in this season they're about the size of a 767, and in other seasons they're the size of a 777, 400, all of that. So I was visually seeing in front of me how big these planes were, and I was like, okay, if that was an actual dragon flying or walking towards me, that would be huge. Those were Dany's dragons, and they were only 5, 6 years old. These dragons that we're going to see are like 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 and something years old. So they're going to be like absolutely massive. And so I'm just like, okay, this is going to be absolutely amazing. The colors on these dragons are amazing. I honestly said, and in my trailer reaction, I'm going to put a link in the description below. In my trailer reaction, I said they've really stepped up their game. The CGI department really has stepped up their game when it comes to the way the dragons look, the way that people look like when they're flying on them, it looks real. And I wish dragons were real. It looks so real, and they've done such an amazing job. You can definitely see the the jump from 2018, 2019 to 2022, 2023 as regards the computer animation and CGI, the technology that they've, oh my goodness, I'm sweating. The technology, how far technology has come and how far computer graphics and everything has come. It looks amazing. There's also a scene near the end of this trailer, um, that they do a panoramic view, so you're looking down on this scene. And I was like, if you look to the left, again, I know what certain characters are going to be in there because I've seen the show. I don't want to give it away for the people who haven't seen it or the people who are going in blind as regards. And I say blind as in they haven't read the story, so they don't know all the characters. So this is an introduction for everyone. There were specific characters that I saw that I was like, I didn't expect to see them in the first season. So the fact that we're going to get this far into the story is fantastic. Now, in theory, the Dance of the Dragons doesn't last long. I think Viserys comes to the throne in 104 or 105. We are going to see the Great Council of 101. We are going to see Jaehaerys, the Great Conciliator, which I am super excited about because December of 2021, I did a Vlogmas talking about Jaehaerys and all of the characters. And I'm going to put a link in the description below to that video, or to those videos, to my Vlogmas. I did a Vlogmas 2021, and I did it on House of the Dragon characters. I actually have like dragon scales tattooed all up and down my body, and there's my wing. And shout out to Bright Hold the Brat on Instagram and Wilding Tattoos in Ajax, because they're the ones, she's the one who did the tattoos and all down my legs and everything. I'm not going to show you all that. I have videos for all of that. I could put in the playlist as well if you're interested. So yes, we're going to see the Council of 101 AC. We're going to see Jaehaerys Targaryen, the Great Conciliator. He was the longest reigning monarch in the Targaryen family line. And I was talking to other content creators, and they were like, oh, like how many seasons do you think there's going to be for this specific timeline? Now, this timeline is short. The Dance of the Dragons doesn't last long. However, the repercussions are felt all the way through to the time of Game of Thrones, which is like 100 and some odd years into the future. So I think, and I was talking to someone and I was like, oh, maybe 5 seasons, which is a good rounded somewhat number. Like 5 seasons is good. If they do 5 seasons and they do 10 episodes per season, 50 episodes, they can stretch the story out because they know how it ends, and they're not going to be just making things up as they go. Now, I think that's the difference between Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, is the fact that House of the Dragon, which is an adaptation of the Dance of the Dragons and the Civil War for the Targaryen Iron Throne, that story is already complete. So the showrunners are going into this with a completed story. Now, Game of Thrones is great. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people didn't like the final 2 seasons. They thought they were rushed. You know, it wasn't climaxed well enough. They didn't have a good enough build up. Whatever the complaints may be. The long and short answer is the story's not done. There's still 2 books left to be written. So, in theory, they could have just been like, we're going to end it here. We're going to end it with this particular scene. And there's a specific scene I'm thinking of that should have been absolutely perfect. And it would have been like, we will continue when yada yada yada. It would have helped people out because the last few seasons were just not good. However, with the Dance of the Dragons and the Targaryen Civil War, the story is done. The story is practically canon, and when you look at the characters, when you go to watch this show, when you look at the characters, to me, I can see Dany and her brother, and even flashes of Rhaegar, just on dragons. And I can see how the Mad King can go crazy. I can see where in the family line they would all land and who is attached to who. And it's going to be just a great story. There's so many other little details that I noticed that I don't want to like go too long into. If you have seen the episode, if you've seen the trailer, and you notice something that's not quite spoilery, but you want to mention it in the comments and we can have a discussion below, by all means. I'm going to try and get this video out Friday. Again, it's like 2:30 in the morning and I'm like tired, but I want to get all of this out while it's fresh in my mind. Apparently this weekend is Comic-Con in San Diego, so they're going to have a panel. And I was, again, watching content creators on YouTube, and a lot of people were like, oh, you know, if they're releasing this Wednesday, or if they've released this on Wednesday, what are they going to show at Comic-Con? Because the House of the Dragon panel have an hour. They're going to talk to, you know, you're going to meet casts and do all this kind of stuff. And there's a few people that are on YouTube that are saying that they're going to go. So I can't wait to see what that's going to be like. So people are just like, okay, so like, what are they going to show at Comic-Con if they've dropped this, you know, 48 hours before Comic-Con? Are they going to show like the first 10 minutes of episode 1? There's another content creator that I follow who said that he's actually going to see the first episode next week. And I was just like super jealous. Like, that's going to be amazing. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, because I'm getting really long on this video. Let me know in the comments below. I'm going to put links to everything below in the comments. Or in the description. I'm going to put links to the video trailer, all of that stuff, the Vlogmas of 2021, my tattoo journey for my dragon scales, all of that stuff is going to be below. Watch the trailer if you're interested. If you know the story, we can do a conversation that's not filled with spoilers, because there are people who haven't watched Game of Thrones or haven't read the Fire and Blood books that this is based off of. So I want to not spoil it for them. I know who I'm rooting for. I'm Team Black all the way. However, I could be sympathetic to Team Green. We shall see how that works out in the story. And you guys, I can't wait. This is going to be fantastic. I'm super, super excited. Comment down below if you're excited. Comment down below what you're looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the dragons. I want to see all of them. There's going to be like 17 of them. They all look different. They're all going to be different sizes. There are going to be so many characters that are going to be dragon riders versus characters who are not dragon riders who think they have power. It's going to be, it's political intrigue. It's the politics of Westeros that was the Seven Kingdoms, and now they've combined it to one family. But that family's fractured and not quite right. And I can't wait. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. All right, guys. That'll do it for this video. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Until my next video, I'll see you soon. House of the Dragon will be premiering August 21st, 2021. And I'm going to see if my sister wants to watch it with me, because I think she's going to love it. All right. See you guys in my next video. Peace out.